Greetings, hello, and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding and the magpie is casting. Coming to you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle. Featuring spawning in the south, it's going to be the Soviet forces of Escobar. And spawning in the north, it's going to be the Overcommand West forces of PaoJ. So, the map right now today is going to be Angerville, which, yay, I know its name. Hooray, woohoo, got it. So, yep, Angerville is going to be the map. Of course, this is the asymmetrical map. Let me crack the tack to elucidate. So we've got 2 victory points on the right, just 1 on the left, and apart from that, the distribution of resource points more or less even. Now, this road down the middle is flanked by large line of sight blockers, so it really is like there's 2 halves to this map. Now, of course, players have to prioritize the right-hand map, but have to respect the left as well, because, you know, there's a lot of resources over there as well. So if the right is contested, he who holds the left will not be bereft. Of course, a festive, like, woo-ha and yay and celebratory, like, raucous, like, yay, basically, because, yay, it's Christmas time. I don't know if you guys enjoy Christmas, but, yeah, I hope you're all out there enjoying the holidays and having some good times around this time of year, even if you don't celebrate it. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, thought I'd just throw that one out there. I know Christmas is everywhere, and I'm sure everyone's pretty sick of it, and to be honest, we come to Company of Heroes not for Christmas, but for giant explosions and, you know, the raucous thrill of strategic combat and World War II and all that kind of thing. But, you know, I'm still going to wish you all a happy Christmas, because that's just how I am. It's just how I roll. That's how I'm continuing to roll. So, yes, very Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Let's see now. Neither player's chosen a commander just yet, and the build's looking pretty standard so far. We've got a Maxim on field, we've got some conscripts joining it, we've got 2 of Volksgrenadiers joining the Storm Pioneers who are already out, with a 3rd squad of Volksgrenadiers following for PaoJ, our Overcommand player. Let's see now, we're going to have a few scuffles here developing on the right flank. So far, the only player to have sent a unit to the left is Escobar. So those conscripts, I guess they're conscripts out there, are going to be completely unchallenged. Now, I can hear a Maxim firing. Here it is. Look at that guy's angle. He's like firing the Maxim through this archway here to suppress the Storm Pioneers. Obviously, that's pretty crucial because Storm Pioneers are a heavy-hitting and expensive squad, and although they are the starting squad for Overcommand, they are, as a combat squad, they represent more value than a squad of Volksgrenadiers. So forcing that squad out of the equation at the 2.5 or just before the 2.5 minute mark, pretty crucial. That's going to reduce the efficiency of that unit considerably, and mean that this early phase of play should be slightly more Soviet favoured. But just as I say that, these Volksgrenadiers get all up on top of this Maxim and force the fallback. So actually, things are probably just about even again because you know, the first real tech investment unit for the Soviet players has also been forced off the field, and I would say a Maxim has similar combat impacts to a squad of Storm Pioneers, so especially at this point in the game, possibly more so at this point in the game actually. You know, a machine gun at this timing is supposedly pretty dominant and would have changed the entire course of this engagement, but that's not going to be available for the Soviet player. And these conscripts are looking a tad vulnerable, actually. When these Volksgrenadiers finish up the cap, which they've now done, I imagine they'll look to come through here. There we go. And these conscripts are going to be completely outnumbered. Now, if I come across to the left flank here, just pay a little attention. Some sandbags have been erected in a decent position for the Soviet player. Volksgrenadiers coming on out here, and they're going to see some points already captured. So PaoJ knows that there's at least 1 Soviet squad in the hood, and of course that's these conscripts. So we could have a scuffle over there, and we'll see if either of the players chooses to commit any more squads to the left-hand side of the map. That's one of the most interesting decisions that the players have on this map. You know, it's one of the most interesting map-related decisions. Let's put it that way. It's exactly how to split your forces, because you know that the right-hand side of the map is worth more, and you can't win unless you at least contest it. But then again, you know, if your opponent has the similar mindset, then you know that they won't have as many units on the left, and so your units actually stand to be a little more efficient if you commit them to the left. You know, they'll stand to get you more gains, hypothetically, for fewer losses. So, I don't know. It's an interesting little spicy shift-up, which we get to see on this map. Now, the Battle Gripper HQ for the Overcommand player, I didn't actually see it deploying, but it has decided to deploy here. The Soviet player discovered it, managed to get a decent amount of damage onto it, but not stop it from erecting. So that thing's at about 66% health right now. We'll see if the Soviet player is going to call in a Zis gun and look to put some pressure on that building. You could even do it from behind this line of sight blocker. So actually, now that I look at it, this is an incredibly aggressive positioning for the Battle Gripper HQ. PaoJ fearless here, and researching the forward fallback point, a man after my own heart. This is the kind of shizzle that I normally try to pull. I always just drive my Battle Gripper HQ. I drive that first truck way on out, and I always try to put the Battle Gripper HQ somewhere nuts and get that forward fallback going and really just put the pressure on right from the as soon as I can. But this is a super aggressive position, which is fine, as I say, it's what I usually do, but only if it's appropriately supported. And right now, I just don't really see that support. This Maxim is going to lock down all of this infantry. Actually, having said that, though, the Russian player Escobar is going to change the arc, and these Volksgrenadiers, this squad here, could take advantage of that, move on up and start getting some rounds in. Now, the fallback position has been researched. That's going to enable these Volksgrenadiers to shrug off the effects of suppression very quickly by just tapping fallback, and they'll just go boop, fallback to right here. They just almost flash a fallback thing, and then all suppression is removed. So this is some kind of like suppression removing micro you can do. And judging by the way PaoJ is using this truck, I'd say he must be familiar with this trick. Look, there we go, bing, fallback, and there we go, they're now unsuppressed. So it's very hard for a machine gun to work as efficiently as usual when you're fighting this close in the vicinity of a battle group at HQ. So recognizing this, the Soviet player Escobar is going to turn that Maxim round. There is a chase from these Volksgrenadiers, and the further they move away from this battle group at HQ, the more effective this MG will be. I mean, obviously if it suppresses these Volks in this position, a fallback will have to mean that they go all the way back over here. So the Maxim will be effective from this position. An incendiary grenade is going to come down, look to do a bit more damage to that Maxim, and possibly even force it off the line slightly more for an extended duration. As this gun has arrived, and you've got to think that Escobar is investing in the divisional field gun in order to pressure this forward battle group at HQ, possibly, as I said, by positioning the Zis around about here and firing through this line of sight blocker using the attack ground command. And that would be a really good strategy, but of course to do that he's going to need to control this area, and he can't do that right now because most of his forces are elsewhere or reinforcing. Speaking of elsewhere, out on the left flank we do have a flak half-track, the initial tech investment here for the Axis player, and of course that's going to be more than sufficient to brush aside the conscripts who were there. These Volksgrenadiers are going to move into the hood and start capping up, so for now things on the left looking pretty good for PaoJ. In fact, he seems to recognize that, and he's going to redeploy this flak half-track to support the battle group at HQ on the right. And he has to be careful, this gun is out here, and I don't believe the Axis player Han PaoJ knows that it's there. I don't think the Zis gun has revealed itself. But even so, the flak half-track, I very much like this position. Imagine you're trying to draw a straight line from a Zis gun to this position for the flak half-track. Like, where can you put the Zis gun? Like, this is very difficult. Like, here, maybe? I mean, but obviously, you know, the Axis infantry for now has this completely covered. So this is quite a safe position. I like that a lot. I don't know if that's an accidental click or if he's put as much thought into that as I'm making out, but it seems smart. It seems pretty smart. This gun actually so far has been pretty much just a 300 manpower handicap at the moment. Sorry, 320 manpower handicap. Not a lot of utility been wrought from this divisional field gun just yet. The barrage ability costs 60, so Escobar has access to that, and he could look to use that. If he forces the fallback out of a number of these squads, he's already seen that PaoJ has researched the forward fallback option. So if he forces a fallback from these squads, he could then follow that up with a Zis barrage onto the battle group at HQ and try for some squad wipes by landing those high explosive shells into the depleted retreating squads. Now, this is a lot of conscripts coming forward, and it appears that the anti-tank vehicle grenade, or the anti-vehicle grenade, has been researched. That's going to have broken the engine on the flak track, and the Zis gun has revealed itself, so the flak track has to make itself scarce. Wow, another AT grenade going to do very good damage to the flak track. I forget how fragile those things are. And that's going to force it back even further. The Zis gun is creeping forwards and is nearly now in range of the crucial infrastructure that it needs to be in range of. Of course, it could also utilize its... Oh no, he doesn't have the munitions for a barrage just now, but he will do shortly. Of course, those AT grenades have taken their toll on the Soviets' munitions total. Flak half-track still managing to get some work done. You should never underestimate the range on that thing. It is brutal, and of course it does suppress very quickly. Now bear in mind, I won't shift the camera over there, but on the left-hand flank you can see on the minimap there is a squad out of, I believe they're Volksgrenadiers. Oh no, wait, no, I think they are Volksgrenadiers, yeah. Capping on the left flank, so pretty much the entire left-hand side of the map is in Axis control. The right-hand side is significantly contested, and I would say is at the moment in Axis advantage. As this gun gets set up in a great position, this is what I mean! Force the fallback and then use the explosive rounds. A fantastic move from Escobar here. Now it all just comes down to the luck of the gods, and it seems like he's been cruelly denied. If that first shell would have landed right here, that could have been like a game-changing and devastating right there. You know, it's long odds, but you always play for these odds because the payoff is so high. And you know, if those odds would have paid out, then that, like I say, that would have been game-changing advantage right there, wrought for the Soviet player. So you do accept. I mean, or at least personally, I do accept as a player when I utilize a plan like this, you know, spending 60 munitions to barrage this spot when my opponent's just fallen back all of his squads. I know that the odds of me actually getting that god round are pretty slim, but if you don't play for it, you don't get it. And 60 munitions is not that big of an investment. So, my goodness, he's going to be deploying his Schwerpanzer HQ smack in view of his Maxim. In conscripts, there's a Zis gun in the hood. PaoJ is playing this just like I do. There's going to be mortars hooning in on it. Those are 120mm mortars, aren't they? Yeah, so 120mm mortars. They know where the position is. And I don't think that mortar is going to be enough to destroy this by itself, but it's going to certainly try. And let's see what kind of damage that's wreaking. Not that much at the moment. But wow, PaoJ is playing this turbo aggressive, and this is how, like I say, this is how I myself prefer to play the Overcommand faction in the early game, if I feel like I can get away with it. Obviously, I'm not a madman, blood-crazed maniac. I don't rush every time on every map. Oh dear. Oh dear, the Schwerpanzer HQ is taking fire now. Oh, it takes a sting from the Zis gun, but it is going to finish with about 40% of its HP. The flak half-track and the Schwerpanzer HQ now going to start to... Wow, they actually get a kill on that Maxim. Wow, little sluggish on the fallback there was Escobar. I feel like that Maxim should have been out of there a long time ago. This Zis gun is likewise in danger. It's actually in range of the Schwerpanzer HQ. He needs to take this fight from further back. Any amount of line of sight on this Zis gun is going to enable the Schwerpanzer HQ to fire on it. And yeah, responding to that is the Soviet player. He needs to fall these squads back. They're all on one man. This is suicidal. Get these squads back. Escobar, what are you doing? Get this guy back. Oh my goodness. Why does he not fall these guys back? There we go. There we go. That seems like an elementary mistake which could have been punished there. A stray rifle round from any of these Volk squads could have just terminated any of those squads there. So, I mean, you know, I'm making a big deal of it, but he's playing with fire, and if nothing else, it's pretty inefficient, because now he's now that's a few more seconds that those squads are not going to be returning to the front for, because, you know, he took them that much longer to fall back for. And wow, the Soviet forces are big time in disarray here. Axis, I mean, looking at the scoreline, the Axis player PaoJ taking quite the lead with this very aggressive play. Ugh! The 120mm mortar, though, could be the saving grace of the Soviet player here. I'm just saying, this is the silver lining. Because if you just keep focus firing here, you're constantly going to be chipping off squads. You may get a squad wipe on a fragile retreating squad that's rallying to the battle group at HQ. You know, and also, of course, if nothing else, you're dealing damage to the battle group at HQ, which is pressure in itself. So, is that a captured Zis gun? Oh my god, the Zis gun has been captured. That starts flumping away the 120mm mortar squad. Savage. So PaoJ seemingly has the answer. Here comes some shock troops, though, from Escobar. The commander, of course, that's enabling him to take these mortars and the shock troops is the Soviet shock army guy. And I reckon that's a really good choice for this map, actually. And I reckon if Escobar can just hang in here a while longer, he should be in a good position. Just because he has the conscript assault package, that's going to be coming up soon. In fact, no, that's available now. So he can upgrade his conscripts with PPSH submachine guns. Now, the munitions cost on that's pretty cheap. It's like 50, 40. And how many do they get? 2? 3? So, and that makes conscripts way more punchy, just way more usable. I really like conscripts with the PPSH package upgrade are spicy, and I like them. Yeah, that's going to be really nice. And the reason I think that works really well on this map is, like, look at this right-hand side. It's very close quarters. Shock troopers, mortars, and conscripts with PPSHs are good choices here. But that's only if the Soviet player can get off the back foot, which he is firmly on right now. These shock troops going to get on up close to these Jaeger lights, but I'm just not sure that 3 of them is going to be sufficient. I mean, their close range damage is good, but they need to fall back, and they do. Maxim gets set up into a good building, but the flak half-track is going to have that countered, and this Zis gun, I feel like that falling into Axis hands is like, that's the difference maker right here. Whoa, the Zis gun gets up to 3 stars though. It's doing really good damage to the flak half-track. Man, these flak half-tracks are super fragile, actually. I always forget how fragile they are. That Maxim's totally beating this flak half-track. Yeah, forcing the smoke and a fallback. Now remember, the smoke granted by Veteran C1 on the flak half-track is actually munitions-free, so popping that smoke is not a munitions impediment for the Axis player. But it is, of course, you know, still an impediment. He has to fall back the half-track and repair it and things. Zis gun barrage being used, textbook Soviet tactics being used against the Soviet here. Zis gun barrage to displace an MG. Seemingly not doing that much damage against the Maxim squad. There we go, getting it down to like a third of its health. Whoa, still more rounds coming in, actually. And now another Soviet Zis coming forward. So it's one Zis on each side of the field right now. And PaoJ has been able to repair these buildings. The Schwerpanzer HQ now fully repaired. Battle Group at HQ not looking too bad. Repair tool upgrade on the Storm Pioneers, a savvy choice. And now we have a Panzer IV entering the field, and the pressure is mounting right now. And I feel like if the Panzer IV flanks out left, comes in from this angle like here, that could be a really sweet move for the Axis player. That's definitely where I'd commit it. Now he's just going to send it on in front to where all of his main forces are. I seriously think that just sending this Panzer IV around here would be terrifying for the Russian player, because then your attack is like coming around like almost like 270 degrees. But anyway, the Panzer IV is just going to come out here. The Ziskun's, yeah, you see, this is really bad because the Ziskun's like already looking more or less to this sort of area. So like, I just feel like the Panzer IV here is, yeah, I mean, what was that ever going to achieve? I think that might be the first really bad decision I've seen PaoJ make. I mean, it wasn't like terrible, but it was just a pretty bad decision, in my opinion. Now, the Soviet player was toying with sending a squad to the left here. I guess he must have hit some mines. So, I hope he sends another squad though, because the resource disparity right now is just insane. 39 fuel and 63 munitions versus 7 fuel and 11 munitions. Now, squad was just wiped out for the Axis player, so Escobar is in this and fighting hard. His 120mm mortar is up to 2 stars, 8 kills, and he has a second one on the field just arriving now, so a lot of pressure being added. And although this looks really good, if this position here is broken for the Axis player, he pretty much forfeits the game, because this is all his tech, all his investments, and pretty much everything. So it looks very close, and it is, but once the Soviet player is able to overturn this position, he should be able to just take the game. I mean, it's not as straightforward as that, but he's very, very, very far ahead once that happens. So using these 2 mortars, I think this is a really smart choice, but he needs to back them up. Without the Maxim being in this building, they're very vulnerable. And all the Axis player has to do is push, and here he comes. He's not blind to this. He's going to push now. And is he just going to toss a grenade over this building? Yep, here comes the grenade. Whoop! Bam! And how fast are your reflexes, Escobar? Pretty quick is the answer, so that mortar is definitely going to get out of there. So that's good. I mean, obviously, losing that mortar would have been, like, terrible, so I fully expect him to get that out of there. Wow, is this a captured Maxim is going to be defending the left flank here for PaoJ? That's a fantastic decision. I really like that. He's even salvaging this Ziskan to get some resources out of it. Of course, he's got thorough salvage because he's the scavenge commander, so that's pretty good. The Panzer IV is now repaired. That comes back out onto the field. And where's the Ziskan for the Soviet player? Just now coming on. Wow, it's whoa, in a very exposed position. Oh, he needs to turn this around. Escobar, whoa. Needs to just settle this down, or I'd say around about here. Possibly in the heavy cover provided by these sandbags, and like pointing like this. That's what I would say. Anyway, flat half-track here, potentially in a risky position. The Ziskan's going to be able to come forward and stress it. Here we go. And I imagine this will be a smoke and reposition for the Axis player. Here we go, let's see. Boom, there it goes, smoke and reposition, pretty standard stuff. Ooh, a second shot being fired, attack round being used. Whoa, the 120mm mortars making their presence felt, punishing this squad of Jaeger light infantry. And this 2-star squad doing some really good work. And I really like staggering your mortars like this for a number of reasons. I think having your mortars side by side means that if they're caught, they're both caught. Whereas having them staggered like this means that infantry in this position throwing a grenade are still in range and being fired at by the other mortar. And it also means that you have a concentrated range where both of the lines of fire overlap, where both of the maximum ranges of your mortars overlap, and you can really heap out some fire when your opponent closes in. Wow, grenade barrage coming down off these Volksgrenadiers. That's going to wipe out the veteran 2-star mortar crew, and I feel like this is just going from bad to worse here for Escobar. Credit where credit's due. Escobar's showing a lot of character and spirit here by not GGing so far, because this has been a very tough game for him so far, and he's sticking in there. He's desperately still holding. Even this Ziskan able to fend off the Panzer IV once again. So, yeah, as I say, credit where credit's due. This has not been an easy game for him, and he is just hanging in there, remanning this mortar yet again. What is the tech for the Soviet player? Oh my god, there's no tech! Is there no tech? Okay, yeah, so he's got the tier 2 building, of course, but he doesn't have any further tech. He's got 140 fuel. He could build a Tank V battalion command and get an Su-76, which would give him access to unlimited barrages. So I think that should have been the plan. I think that should have been out by now, because this whole arrangement from the Open Command player is very susceptible to indirect fire. And the right volume of indirect fire will make life very hard for the Axis player, or would have done, but the game is actually kind of drawing to a close even, so I wonder if it's a little too late. Yeah, I think if he does it now, it's too little too late. He's not even starting it, so I think it is now too late for that plan. The left-hand side of the map has just not been challenged, and there's a pretty sturdy infantry force there. So that is pretty bad. Listen to this mortar go. Come on. Here. Oh, he's just aiming it. I want to hear it. No, he's going to pack it up. He's packing it up. Oh, that's because we've got the good old 105mm howitzer barrage coming down from the scavenge doctrine. Not a lot of stored munitions, but wow, still enough to get a squad wipe there. The Panzer IV is going to clean up those shock troops on the north side of the screen just now. And, wow, basically. And I feel like breaking down this line of sight blocker is really good for the Axis player. I think that will only enable him to extend the range of his units and extend his dominance into this area, which the Soviet player has been using as a base for his indirect fire and weapons teams units. Yeah, a very difficult position for Escobar, and I think that this has gone beyond the point of hopelessness now. I struggle to see how you can come back from under this. Holy spoons! I've just looked at PaoJ's resource float. He's floating 267 fuel right now. Wow. And he has all of his trucks. So I think the game will end before we get to the 310 fuel he needs for the King Tiger, but that King Tiger is what's coming. Like that's the haymaker, just in case Escobar somehow cobbles something together. That's the haymaker that's coming. And when you play as Overcommand and you get away with a gamble, I mean, this is a gambit. There is no doubt. If you look up the definition of the word gambit, it originates from a kind of chess opening, and where you risk a high-value piece for a potential gain. And this is a gambit. You are risking a lot of high-value pieces here for a lot of gain. And when the gambit pays off, Overcommand look incredibly strong. And I have to say, Soviet players who know how to punish this style of aggressive opening have a lot of options, a lot of recourse, and can usually dismantle this kind of an opening. You have to see it coming. You have to see it coming very early. You have to prepare for it. But even if the trucks get deployed, you can still come back and counter that with the right strategies. Escobar, it seems to me, a little flustered, a little unlucky, and a little sluggish with some of his unit control, and was not able to pull together the appropriate counters and get the indirect fire with the Zis guns going, and the attack round with the Zis guns, or a significant weight of indirect fire going. So yeah, I think basically Soviet players, if you are finding this kind of opening from Overcommand really annoying, and don't get me wrong, it can be incredibly annoying. When you play against Overcommand West, open with Tier 1, go for that special rifle command, get a scout car, and that helps you in a number of ways. It lets you see where their trucks are very early, so you won't get caught off guard by oh my god, he's deploying this truck right up in my grill. It also enables you to put a great deal of pressure on a deploying truck. The gun on the scout car will kill, just by itself, a deploying truck in like not very much time. You could catch that truck when it's like a third deployed and still kill it with the scout car alone. If you've got backup with conscripts and or like, you know, engineers with a flamer, or just, well, I don't suppose they'd have a flamer at that timing, but you know, basically if that scout car has any kind of backup, you can put some serious pressure down. And of course, going for that Tier 1 command building with the snipers, the penal, and the scout car isn't nearly the disadvantage it used to be. Ever since they changed the cost of those buildings, it's very easy to transition into your standard Tier 2 and get some Maxims and Zis guns going. And that's the solution once those trucks are deployed. If the scout car wasn't able to stop these trucks, you can transition to that Tier 2, get a Zis gun, start attacking ground, use Maxims to suppress their infantry back. But the key is speed. You need to start dealing damage to the trucks quickly, as soon as possible, and then keep piling it on as fast as possible. Because if you give those Storm Pioneers a chance to repair, then things start getting very hard. And if the Axis player is able to make a hold with an opening gambit like this and establish a position like we're seeing on the screen here, you know, once he actually deploys the Schwerpanzer HQ in support of the Battle Gripper HQ, then you really need something like tanks or a Katushka to break this position, and then you're looking at a lot further down the line, a lot later in the game. So as I say, Tier 1 rifle command, get that scout car early if you're playing against Overcommand players who you suspect are going to try something like this. And if the scout car opening doesn't take care of the truck, and it won't do it all the time, depends on a lot of things, positioning, luck, when you discover the truck, and where the Axis player decides to put it. If it doesn't take it out, don't panic, just throw down your Tier 2, grab a Zis gun, get a couple of Maxims, and start applying pressure that way. There's a lot of things. I think the Soviet team is the best positioned to deal with this kind of a gambit. Am I going to qualify that? No, I just think they are. So yeah, that would be like Magpie's top tips for Soviet players, how to deal with this kind of an opening. As somebody who's played the matchup from both sides a fair amount, that's how you do it, I think. An interesting look at a textbook gambit opening there for the Overcommand player. One that I myself favour. I mean, that's my favourite opening for Overcommand. And PaoJ there executing it very nicely. So a bit of a masterclass there from PaoJ, nice to see. I'll be hopping straight back into the live games lobby to bring you some more action very shortly. So for now, this is Magpie 842 signing out. But of course, stay tuned.